Welcome to our first project in CSS section. This project is called Healthy Recipes. Let's see. First, let's close our pop-up message. And let's see, using the CSS selectors, you will give a recipe website some new style. If you get stuck during this project or would like to see an experienced developer work through it, click Get Help to see a project walkthrough video. Let's start the project. Okay, we have the 7 tasks in total. We have the index.html file. We have the CSS file, style.css. And let's start with the first task. Before you begin, take a look at the site's structure in index.html. Start by making the image at the top of the page a little smaller. Navigate to style.css and write a CSS selector for the image tag. Within its curly braces, write height property and set it to 150 pixels. Try experimenting with the 150 number and observing the results. And let's find our... So this is the image element, this one right here. So let's select the image element and set its height to 150 pixels. And let's save our code. And as you can see, our image is much smaller now. Okay, we set the image. Now let's proceed. The font size of the recipe description should be larger. In style.css, write a CSS selector for the description class. And within its curly braces, add the following CSS. So font size set to 20 pixels. Okay, and now description text is a little bit bigger. We increased the font size. Okay, let's proceed. Next, let's style the cooking time. The element on line 15 of index.html right here, cook time, and has an ID attribute of cook time. Navigate to style.css and add a cook time ID selector, and inside of its curly braces write font weight set to bold. So you remember how we write the ID selectors? In front of the ID name, you add the hashtag character. Okay, let's copy the property we should use. Font weight set to bold. Okay. Now let's change the bullet points of the ingredient list to squares instead of circles. Start by writing a selector for the li elements inside the ingredients element. Okay, now we have the descendant selector. So first we write the selector for the parent element, in this case ingredients element, and then select all li's inside of that ingredients element. And now let's add the list style property, set to square. Okay, you see we changed the bullet points from circles to squares. Okay, next let's make the time for each preparation step appear gray. In style.css, write a selector for p elements that also have a class of time. Then inside of these selectors curly braces, write the following property. Okay, we need P elements with the class of time. So no space now. So P, first we are selecting the P elements and then we are adding the time class, or we are adding the selector for all the paragraphs with this time class attribute. And now let's set its color to gray. And here we change the color. At the bottom of the page, there is a link to the full recipe. Let's make the link a different color. Notice that in index.html on line 42, there is a P element with a class of citation. Then an A element inside of it with a class of external link. Navigate to style.css and write a selector using external link class. Then add this code inside of the selector's curly braces. So external link class, we are selecting the A element with the class of external link, and then we should add this color property to the selector. Okay. Okay, and I think here is the element we just modified. Let's see. Find this recipe and more. And here is the A element with the class external link. Yep, we modified that element. Okay, it's completed. And finally, let's make the font Helvetica instead of the default Times New Roman. Instead of writing multiple selectors to apply the font family property, write a selector that applies a font family attribute to all text at once. The selector should target the H1, H2, P, and LI elements. And this is the multiple selector, H1, H2, P, and LIs. And they should have a font family property set to Helvetica. Save our code. Of course, it is correct. And we got the pop-up message saying that we completed the project. Okay, on the right side you can see the page we just modified. This should be all for this project. Let's proceed to the next one. And here is the pop-up message saying that we completed the project. And the next project is called Olivia Woodruff Portfolio. Let's start the project.